Welcome everyone to the first edition, episode 1 of Tag Talking with Ryde-Eastwood. Before we get stuck into the segment, just want to give a quick update in regarding to just how the night's going to operate. Make sure when you join, you give us a thumbs up so you go into the draw. Just got to make sure that I keep track of this. So once you join, make sure you give us a thumbs up so then we can keep track of who is joining. Also, another quick update. Hopefully we'll have within the next couple of days an update of when social competition will be kicking off. We are just waiting on just some final guidelines which Bill Harrigan is trying to set for us. So hopefully we'll have an answer of that very soon. So tonight's episode, we have 3 special guests in Fidel Kassem, Ebony Basha and Sharindu. Mate, can't pronounce your last name, so you're going to have to do it for me when you come on. So first guest, we'll bring up Fidel Kassem. So once he joins in, then we'll get him into the live feed. So guys, I hope you definitely enjoy this segment. Obviously a lot of work's gone into behind this, so just want to thank a lot of people that have been helping out amongst this. So yeah, see if I can see the eyes, mate. Thank you for that. Okay guys, so this is Fidel Kassem. He is the boss of Sydney Ostag. So Fidel, nice to have you on board, mate.
Thanks, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Okay. Look, seeing that you've already taken up some of our time because of the footy, let's get stuck straight into it. So tell us when you got started into Ostag back in 92, if I'm correct?
That's correct.
How did it come about, though? With obviously social media being different to what it is now, how is it possible?
Well, what I was coming home from school that one day, and then I got a pamphlet in the mailbox saying, "Come and try this new game." Now it was a trial down at Cogra Oval, Jubilee Oval at Cogra. When I had a game, tried it out, it was quite good. Scored quite a few tries. I said, "Mate, this is a great game," and then the rest is history.
So you had a choice between having a rugby league career or Ostag.
At the start, true? Yeah.
Why did you go Ostag and not rugby league? Like most people would go the other way.
Well, I knew how big this game would get. Secondly, you can go choose a path of rugby league, cop an injury, your whole life could change. Yeah. With Ostag, mate, it was a game that I knew that everyone would love. I knew it would make a lot of people happy, and I knew there'd be a better way to go Ostag than it was rugby league.
Well, it's obviously a right choice you've made because you've now got Sydney Ostag. Tell us what operates under Sydney Ostag, under your banner.
Well, Sydney Ostag runs from Homebush to Wentworth Park to St Ives to Hornsby to Ryde to Carlingford to Canterbury to Croydon Park to
Would you have ever expected it when you first got involved to get to the size it is today?
No, when I first got involved, there was a competition at Ashfield, and then what happened was I closed that comp down, and then I went to Wentworth Park, and I went to Homebush, which everyone said was a big mistake because you already had established comp at Ashfield. Now, well, the rest is history, and we know that obviously it wasn't a big mistake because look at the comp actually at Wentworth Park, look at the comp at Homebush, and then Ryde was the one that came after that, and look where Ryde is now as well.
So on Ryde, when did that first actually start?
Look, I think it was 1996. I think it was like 4 years or 3 years after the other comp started. So yeah, it was playing on one field that had lights. I think the first one actually was at the winter comp was at Marsfield. There was one pole of lights, and the rest of everything else is dark. And then summer went to Meadowbank. So I think it was 1996.
Well, you've done a lot for Ryde. Obviously, with me running the competition, you've been able to get the lights put up at Marsfield Park to change in the way that it is. You've had a big influence on what takes place at Ryde. Do you think it's going to continue to grow over the years to come?
Well, I can see Ryde have been one of the biggest comps. I think it's the potential of exceeding all the other comps. It's got a great venue. It's got great. It's running unbelievably. The organisation of it is fantastic. Obviously, Seamus, you got them all down pat there, and it's growing quite nicely.
Well, I've definitely learned from the best, but okay, so that's regarding Sydney Oztag. Now let's talk about you as a player. Now, you've played for Australia back in 2007. Yeah. I've seen the video clip of you out there playing for Australia. That was the first ever World Cup. What was that like?
Mate, the first ever World Cup was like quite a buzz. I didn't realise how many countries actually played it. You know, like went to New Zealand. We had a great side. We thought, you know, we beat the proper New Zealand side, but then lost to the Barbarians in the grand final after beating them in a normal game.
So from there, you've then gone and established Lebanon Oztag not long after that, and have since put your attention towards that. Is that correct?
Yes. At the start, when I did establish Lebanon Oztag, I still played for Australia, and I was coaching Australia for a few years after that. So all in all, about 12 years with Australia. But we did start Lebanon Oztag in 2007 in the first World Cup as well. It was a bit hard, you know, like obviously I had nothing to do with that at that time, just establishing it, nothing to do with it as I was involved with Australia. But yeah, since then, Lebanon's come a long way as well. It's, you know, it's got quite a few teams. The actual Lebanese love this game. It's actually a great game for them, and there's a lot of talent in the Lebanon sides as well.
Well, it's classified as one of the top nations against Australia, New Zealand. Lebanon's up there. Like, it has a wide base, and obviously that comes down to the community and obviously the organisation that basically you run. Is it going to continue to grow, look at opening up more divisions?
Look, definitely. I think, like I said, with the Lebanese community, they absolutely love this game. And I believe that give it a few more years, about 5 years, we'll be dominant force in every division. At the moment, we already are. Like I think we're number 3 in the world, but that will change hopefully in the next few years. I can see with the younger generation coming through that we'll have very talented squads in the next couple of years.
Well, that's a remarkable achievement, given that Australia gets to handpick their players first. So to still be considered number 3 and you're coming from the same places where Australian players are coming from, that's still a very good achievement to be ranked 3rd or 4th in the world.
Mate, I think it's a great achievement. If you think about it, Australia's got everyone to choose from. We're very limited on what we can choose. And in saying that, if we're that limited and we can still be very competitive and actually beat some teams, is I think it's a great achievement.
Okay, so now we've spoken about Lebanon now. Coaching achievements. Now, you have got a number of titles under your belt. Now, I think it's, 19 or 20 now after the recent one at Oceania last year with the 40s?
Yeah, I think it's 20, yeah.
Okay. So obviously over that time, what is probably the most achievable title that you've had that basically titles come and go very easily, and it's sometimes easier than others? What would you say would probably be the best one that you've won?
Mate, the most memorable one, I would say, is actually there's a couple. There's one with the Warriors. I wasn't coaching mixed for a while. Then I came back, coached mixed. We had a game against the Tigers. They actually annihilated us in a game 10-2, I think it was. Then we came back on a Sunday, changed everyone's attitude. We had to talk to everyone. Everyone's attitude changed and really laid down the law. We came back and beat them in the quarterfinal, which no one could believe, and went on and win that comp. I believe that was probably, I think, around 2015. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but that's one of them. And the other one, which is a streak of 52 games where we were undefeated. So we won like the Queensland Cup, the State Cup, the Nationals quite a few times. That was the most memorable, I'd say, of the coaching, my coaching.
Okay, so to be able to win that many titles, obviously you've got a key element that you would basically instill in your teams. What would those elements be that we could relate to?
Mate, basically, I would, what I really, when I want to coach, it's all about defense. Like, if we don't let teams score, then we win, we're in the game. You know, it's trying to catch up and try for try is not, most times you probably won't get there. But if you can stop teams from scoring, then you'll probably win most of your games.
Okay, so obviously defense. You're also a big believer in fitness as well, being mentally fit while also being conditioned.
Yeah.
to be able to last a game. So can you, obviously you referred to your nationals team that you had in November, that towards the back end of the games, just the fitness wasn't there. But if you look at the current crop of people, like the Homebush crew, they are extremely fit and they're going the distance. Obviously, that's a big influence on where you finish.
Mate, fitness is the key. Okay, if a team is fit, okay, mentally and physically, they'll be a step ahead of everyone else. Like it's happened many times. We've taken star-studded teams away, or other areas have, and they haven't achieved what they could have because they just weren't training well. The teams that aren't as talented but have actually put in effort, trained hard, and wanted to play for each other, they're the teams that actually do really well. So that's what you really need to do. Fitness is the key. Without fitness, everyone can have one good game, but how can you have 8 games over a tournament?
Definitely true about that. Now, Fidel, before I let you go, 2 more questions to ask. One's going to be a special question, and one's just to give us a bit of an insight into where Sydney Oztag is heading, your vision. Obviously, you know, the decisions you make has an influence on all the competitions and that. Where do you see us moving in the future?
Well, look, I could see that our rep, especially our rep level, will be 10 times stronger in the future. I see that our juniors are now starting to develop. I see there's a lot more people in the competitions now that want to be a part of it, you know, and I see we can all build that together. I think, you know, the Sydney Cup is a thing that I really put some time into it, and I think that players should have more than just a week, 1 weekend away to get to play high quality. I think they need to have week in, week out to improving their skills, to become better players, and also I think it's they can enjoy the game a lot more when you're playing that competitive nature.
Well, Sydney Cup is a win-win situation. You can develop players into rep players while also condition your teams ready to go away for that tournament. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, last question now. This is a special question that was sent in by the Australian Men's Opens team. Now, they want to know, is it true? I know the answer, but they want to know, is it true that you used to be called the fastest man in Oztag?
Yeah, long time ago. That is true.
Okay, how did that come about?
Okay, back in the first ever Trans-Tasman test, it was in Wellington, in New Zealand. We were playing the test series, and we were down and out with probably about 30 seconds to go. This guy, Berkey from Canberra, put in a kick from our try line. I chased that ball down and got it right before that try line and scored. And I think it just stuck to me from then.
From then. Well, that's pretty impressive to be called the fastest man in Oztag. Fidel, look, I really appreciate you giving up your time on a Sunday, especially when, you know, you're watching the footy and spending time with the family. Hopefully everyone's taken a lot of information from what you've said, and I really do appreciate your time that you've given up for this.
Mate, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I always like to, anything to do with Oztag, I'm always there.
All right. Thank you, Fidel. I really appreciate it, mate. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So there you have. That's Fidel Kassim, head of Sydney Oztag, and it's an absolute pleasure for me to work for him. He's the reason why I am here today doing all this stuff. So we were heading to our next special guest, Ebony Basher. Now, Ebony Basher is the women's under-20s. Sorry, Bernie, I'm not. That's a long time ago. Yeah, our next special guest is Ebony Basher, who is coaching the women's under-20s team. So I'm just going to get her on board. For everyone else that is viewing, please make sure that you give us a wave or a thumbs up so you can go into the draw. Ebony, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Seamus. How you doing?
Really well. Look, firstly, thank you for coming on board. I really appreciate you giving up your time in doing this.
Pleasure. No worries.
Okay, so let's get into your history first. Now, you got into Oztag back into the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
Same thing as what I asked Fidel. How did he know about that? I'm going to ask you the same thing. How did you know?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I remember during high school, so mid to late 90s in high school, it was starting to be the type of sport that they'd offer during your weekly little games against other schools, like nothing overly competitive, but just getting kids out and getting kids active. And so OzTag featured for a couple of years, I think, in my late high school stage. And then by the time I finished high school, I joined my first ever social comp. I think it was in 2001, and it was just my local comp. I got together with some cousins and family, cousins that have gone on to play the NRL, but started out at OzTag down at Minto. So
that's a good change.
Yeah, it's a great change. So yeah, I played socially out at the Macarthur region in the early 2000s. And then I remember someone from my social team kind of nudging me a bit and saying, oh, how come you don't play reps? Like they're starting to run a lot of rep comps these days. And I thought, oh, well, I mean, I enjoy competition. So I thought if that's what reps is going to offer me, I'll have a go. And so I think the first rep comp I played was for open mixed Macarthur. We went down to Shell Harbour back before Coffs was the place to go, Shell Harbour State Cup. And from memory, we either won or we came second. I honestly can't remember, but I mentioned to you during the week, I can't find it at the moment, but I have this entire DVD. My club decided to record every single game and cut it all together and give it to us as a gift, which is high technology in 2004, I have to say.
Well, that's well before our time of what we're doing right now.
That's right. But I actually remember I saw that footage a few years ago, and I played against Mel and Fidel, Cassim at the time in the grand final. And so I remember giving it to Mel because I found some footage of me making a pretty crucial tag on her at one point and her having to shamefully run back on the mark while I stood there staunchly looking proud of my tag. So yeah, I got involved in reps early 2000s, mid 2000s, played the next rep comp in open women's. I actually had a bit of a rough time that year, and my team, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of, I guess, social cohesion, you could call it. And there were elements of the dynamics in that team where it was quite cliquey. And I had a really bad time, actually, and it put me right off. I thought, if this is what reps is going to be like, you know, this level of competition is going to make these girls that way socially, I don't want to do this.
It's not
and
worth
so I had
doing.
that's right, yeah. So I actually had a huge break. I had like a 9-year gap. I kind of gave it in. Yeah, it was a bit tragic, actually. I look back now and do have some regrets, I think, for how long I spent away from the game. And then 2015, so like nearly 10 years later, I was having a bit of a tough time in life, and one of my closest friends said, why aren't you playing competitive sport anymore? Like that makes the whole difference in your life when you've got something to pour your energy into, and your skills and your talent. And so I said, yeah, you know what, you're right. I'd moved out of that local area, so I had to Google. I was like, you know, where do I play OzTag?
Trying to find the
Sydney?
local one.
Yeah, exactly. And sure enough, all of the Sydney OzTag comps came up. I think I was living in Croydon at the time, so I jumped in at Meadowbank. At Homebush. And Mel at the time got me in on a Sunday morning for Sydney Cup. And first game, she came up to me after the game. She was like, hey, are you going to come play State Cup with us, you know, in a couple of months? And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. And so 2015, they put a rainbow coloured uniform on us just to embarrass us, uniform. I think. Yeah, that was wonderful.
That was Fidel's idea.
Yeah, thanks, Feds. But I didn't realise at the time that was actually the first ever senior women's rep team for Homebush. So Simone and Debs had been getting together, who'd both played reps for a long time, but probably through Souths or Cronulla, whoever. And they wanted to localise a senior women's squad from the Homebush area. And we went away 2015. Absolute shocker. I think we barely scored a try, barely won a game. But already I loved the girls. And so I've played with them ever since. Last 5 years have been a dream.
And since that one tournament, like I've kept obviously a close eye on you girls, obviously been like playing on the Ryde, and that yous have, like back in 2018, yous won nationals.
That's right.
And
that's exactly right.
A core group of those girls are still in that team now.
Yeah, definitely. I look at the team photo from that 2015 team, and to be perfectly honest with you, I remember by the time we reached that peak and we won nationals 2018, I looked back and thought, if all of us that were involved in that 2015 comp either A, hated the uniform so bad, or B, hated losing so much that we just threw in the towel, we wouldn't have become the national champs. But it was the endurance of a core of us that stuck with it and said, no, you know, if we actually gain a little bit of momentum here, stick together, train hard, develop a core rapport amongst the squad, we're going to see ourselves improve. And that gold medal 2018 was, I think, the fruit of that decision.
Well, you also nearly went in 2017 and won State Cup. You fell short in the grand final.
Yeah, pouring rain. Yeah, that was
so
great
it was
time.
a bit of redemption in 2018 to then win the Nationals, which I look at it as a more significant moment because you're classified as the best 16 in the country.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think the loss in the grand final in that previous State Cup had made us even more hungry for the actual title come the next comp. Because losing a grand final and doing that treacherous drive home from Coffs, that's enough to motivate you to train harder the next 6 months.
Well, besides that, obviously winning Nationals, runners-up at State Cup, you've also played for New Zealand at the World Cup, and you've recently put on the Aussie jumper. Now, obviously, those are some key significant moments. Like, what would you say is the highlight? You've gone from being someone that found the game in the late 90s to then having a long break, coming back, and basically from 2015 to now, you've played at the international level and achieved so much already in such a short period.
Yeah.
Can you give us a significant moment?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like we've already spoken about, it's really hard to top that 2018 moment of winning that grand final. But I'll be honest with you, at the 2018 Nationals, I think the victory that probably tasted sweetest for us in that comp was the semi-final. We fought really hard in that semi, down to extra time, and our five on field put in a huge effort to get us through to the grand final. So that 2018 Nationals Championship's got to be up there. But there was actually a really significant moment at the last World Cup, playing with the Kiwi girls. We had just lost, I think, within the last 45 seconds of the bronze medal match against Great Britain. And as we're all feeling that weight of just putting in this massive effort all weekend to come away with literally nothing, and all the men of our division were on the sideline in formation and started doing the haka, kind of almost as a way of welcoming us back to the sideline and saying, you know, it's all good, like you didn't get it, but we're still with you. And it just brought a tear to my eye. Yeah, it was huge. It was huge. And I think I'll never forget that moment for me, and a huge highlight in just being able to participate in our sport at that level was a real highlight.
Okay, so we've covered you as basically a player, your background and all that. Now, you've decided to put your hand forward and coach the women's 20s team.
Yeah.
Now, what made you do this? Now, I've coached the women's 20s. It can be, it's a very significant group. It's very easy to turn someone away, but there's also a lot of growth and potential in that age group. What made 100%. You want to do this, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so my background in terms of professionally is in education. I've been a teacher since 2007, and a variety of my roles over that time period have involved sports and coaching and coordinating sports programs, being part of selection committees for representative squads through combined independent schools. And I've always had a passion to just be engaged in sport, whether it's participating as a player or the administrative and the coaching side. But I think in particular for me this year, approaching you and asking if there were an opportunity to coach these girls, it was about believing that that age is so formative in terms of whether or not sports will go on to be a huge part of your life. You know, like the statistics show that females drop off in terms of sport involvement from school age onwards. And the rates are quite staggering to think how many girls do not participate in competitive sport after they leave high school. And well, for me, yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, like, if you haven't grown up playing sport consistently, you do fall off very easily.
100%,
so obviously that's where you've
right.
got that stat as well, because it's obviously proven that unless you're an active female playing sports and in teams, then it's very easy to basically fall off the radar you come back a couple of years down the track and you're playing catch up from there.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I just think that's tragic. And I think, to me, even in spite of having that original difficult experience with my rep girls back in, you know, the early 2000s, the experience I've now had in reps in this club has been the complete opposite, and it's changed my passion. I go to training and I get together with the girls I'm playing with, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to like train alongside them. We have genuine personal relationships off the field. You know, we involve each other in the personal lives of going to, you know, christenings and birthdays and whatnot. And the camaraderie has made a huge difference. And I believe that if some of these girls can experience through our club a camaraderie at that competitive level, it will spur them on to want to involve themselves in the sport more long term. But not only that, I think when the girls are in their, you know, late teens, they have the smallest understanding of their potential. The capacity that they have to take some of the raw talent and skills that they have, and to then have hopefully a little bit of the experience or expertise of people that have been in the game for longer than they've been alive. Hopefully that can show them that they get to refine their skills, refine their talent, and become awesome players.
Well, I don't know if they could. Well, I don't know if they could learn any better from yourself and with the girls that are basically in that women's seniors team. Like I spoke to Simone the other day, and you have basically had minimum 8 players play for Australia over the last 2-3 years, and basically use are the best role models to set an example for these under 20s that they can learn from and develop from.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, and like, to be perfectly honest, you mentioned last year, 2019, that was the first time I ever got my name written down on an Australian squad. I've been playing this game for nearly 20 years. Do you know what I mean? And so I want to encourage these girls that endurance and long-term goals and long-term determination is part of being a better human, but certainly being a more successful competitor if this is the sport they want to focus their energies on. But I think this day and age, when I was growing up, there was no such thing as the women NRL or women AFL or women playing rugby sevens at the Olympics. Do you know what I mean? So even as a young female, for me, 15, 20 years ago, I couldn't even have dreamt of trying to aspire to potentially involve myself professionally in sport. So girls now have this awesome advantage that they could start off in games like OzTag, gain this wealth of experience and high level competition, and potentially channel that into professional sports as they head into their 20s. I think definitely what a time to be alive.
Well, it is a very good time to be alive. Even myself watching obviously with females and that, seeing them how multiple sports are obviously, you know, opening the door up to them, you know, like you said, rugby league, rugby union, you know, it's now becoming a professional sport, and they're moving into basically being paid when the time comes. Now, touching on that, how does OzTag compete with something like that, where, you know, if you have a female who has all the potential in the world and is being chased by a rugby league club, but, you know, you have OzTag on the other end, it's very hard to basically pick what side you want to go with.
Yeah,
what would you be saying to the girls? Like, would you be saying to them, come give OzTag a go, you have the non-contact and etc. that all comes with it, and build yourself into the player and open up more doors instead of just limiting yourself to one?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even as Feds mentioned earlier, for him, part of the decision-making was the likelihood of injury involved in contact sports. I mean, I think, not to be weird, but even as females, do we really want to put our bodies that have the potential for us to carry children and things like that later on in our life? Do we really want to put it at risk by letting girls come and tackle us in the torso every day? Like, I don't.
Well, only in 10 years' time, we'll actually be able to look back and see the stats of what kind of effects it can have with, you know, as a sport grows.
Yeah.
So regarding the women's 20s team, now, obviously during, you know, COVID-19 pandemic that we've had, it's been obviously very hard for the last 2 months in doing anything. State Cup's been pushed back to November. How have you communicated with the team? Have you been talking to them about what you want done, like training-wise, keeping fit? What have you done?
Yeah, I mean, the girls and I predominantly use Facebook and the Facebook group that has been formed as our primary channel of information. And admittedly, I want to give huge props to my girls in terms of the initiative that they take. There's a core number of girls in that squad who, just kind of take opportunity wherever possible to reach out to the rest of the girls, invite them down for a bit of a skill session or all these extracurriculars outside of our normal team training. So I really want to give my girls a lot of credit for the initiative that's shown in them wanting to involve themselves. I'll use our Facebook group as a platform to let them know what's going on. But even, I don't know, for me, I just think the more fun that you're having with your team, usually the better your experience is going to be, the more motivated you are. So I'll pop up a video here, there, and everywhere. Sometimes promise to sing them a song or something like that.
Multi-talented you are.
You don't want to ask Simo about some of the songs I've written in dedication to OzTag, but
maybe one day we can get one up on here.
Yeah, maybe. I'll have to have another one of these. But but I think for me, like, I just try and engage with the girls via that Facebook group as a way of also them getting to know me better. I think the more that they can relate to me and trust me and depend on me as a coach, the better cohesion we're going to have as a whole squad. So Facebook's really been the place. I might ask the girls, tell the whole group, what have you been trying to do to keep yourself fit, to keep yourself motivated? I'll be really humble and honest. If I've been struggling, I'm not going to put on a facade and say, girls, I'm killing it, I'm doing this session for myself today, blah, blah, blah. If I'm having a bit of a lull and I'm struggling to get motivated, I'll be honest with them and I'll say, keep me accountable. Like, maybe this way of me being honest about how I've battled to keep myself motivated will motivate me more from hearing from you girls. So I think there's a bit of, mutual openness that we're trying to achieve through our Facebook forum so that we can be a solid unit.
Well, honesty is always the key between a coach and a player. That if you don't have that honesty between the two parties and the trust, then you can't ever, as a coach, develop the player that you're basically looking after and getting the full potential out of them. So it goes a two-way street. So obviously those are some of the qualities that you'd be looking for. Is there anything else that you would look for in a player? Like that when you were forming your team, was there something certain that you were looking for?
Yeah, definitely. I remember actually putting out a little bit of a post before the trials and just giving the girls a heads up so they knew what to expect. For me as a coach and a selector, I said, to be perfectly honest, I am not looking for a carry here. If you're going to come out to these trials or to the future trainings and consider yourself the hero of this team, please don't show up. In my mind, if you're going to involve yourself in team sports, you have to have this humble, selfless attitude that says, hey, yeah, I do have a lot to offer and a lot to bring, but I'm not the whole team. Like, if I come wanting to put 100% into my role, I'm going to contribute to the bigger picture of the team. And so attitude for me, if I see girls showing up and their attitude kind of reflects the idea that they think they're the star of this team, I'm like, nah. Check your ego at the door. It doesn't work for a team sport. It honestly doesn't. We've all seen the hogs or the selfish players on the team that don't pass, that don't whatever. No one likes it. I don't care if you score 4 tries, by being a hog. I don't actually think it's good for the whole team morale. So for me, looking for players that are humble and selfless and willing to come and play their part is a huge thing. And just that positive attitude, like that, at this age, a lot of them have raw talent. And if they come with a willingness to be taught and to be shown that they're open and not sort of sitting there thinking, I already know everything that you could teach me, relax. But if they come with a sense of, hey, I would love to learn, mate, you can make an absolute winner out of that kind of player.
Well, girls that are watching, obviously you can see from Ebony, she's a very passionate person, and I can actually vouch for that. Not just from this video, she is one of a kind, and many other people would obviously say that about her. So all those young girls obviously wanting to get involved, she is definitely the person to get in contact with. Now, before I let you go, Ebony, I have a special question. Now, this was from Rowan. What kind of OzTag training do you do?
Do you mean with my girls or like if I'm trying to train myself? Sorry.
Just yourself. Like, let's just put it to yourself first. Like, obviously we all play OzTag. Everyone that's watching this has obviously played OzTag, but what do you do to basically improve yourself as a player?
Yeah, nice. I think the one of the main routines I used to try and do is I'd head down to a park with a little bit of gear, like helps to have access to sports gear as a sports teacher. But I'd take like some cones, an agility ladder, things like that. And I'd also set up for myself like a grid where I would do a lot of natural agility or speed work, but then at the end of the grid was a set of balls. And so once I'd completed the speed or agility work, I had to flow into scooping the ball up and aiming for a 50-10. And I would just like repeat that routine or something like that. I mean, I think it always depends on what elements of your game are natural and what you want to refine. So for me, I'm involved as a kicker often during games. And so I thought it was worth honing in on that specifically. I mean, if you're a winger and you want to look at ball retention or, you know, good pickups, then you got to refine your training specific to that. But little grids like that, any type of sprint training, any type of agility work, and if I can get down with a couple of friends and, you know, move the ball around through some moves, that's the dream. Like, yeah.
You've basically covered it. So it all depends on kind of what position that you are playing in, whether it's a social team or rep team, that basically defines what kind of training you are doing to work on the key elements that you know need to be improved on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, Ebony, look, I really appreciate you giving up your time. You are a gem, one of a kind, and I really look forward to seeing what the women's 20s basically put together. And I wish you the best of luck heading into the tournament. Yeah. Once we obviously get back to training, everything will be flowing naturally. But I really do appreciate everything you've done so far.
No, you too, Seamus. Big props to you for all the work that you're doing to improve us as a club, mate. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ebony. Thank you for that.
Right.
Have a good night.
See you later. Bye.
See ya. Okay, guys, there you have it. That was Ebony Basher, women's 20s coach. Like I said, she is definitely one of a kind person, and I have the utmost faith in what she will be doing with the women's 20s. Our next guest, our last guest, before I get into him, if you're viewing and you haven't put up a thumbs up or said hello, please do so you can make sure that you go into the draw. Our last guest is going to be Shirindu. Now, Shirindu is a representative of Ryde-Eastwood. He's basically been from a social player to a representative player to now, to helping me in the canteen, to now being a referee. Shirindu, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Now, before we get into the questions, can you just pronounce your last name for us? Because I definitely had difficulty in doing it.
Don't worry about it, eh? But if you need to know, it's Wiratne.
Okay.
Probably
I'm definitely still not going to even to doing that. Okay, so let's get stuck into it. We don't want to drag this out too much longer.
Cool.
But also still give you time with everything. Now, you came in 2016. Now, I remember when you first came in, you were playing in the mixed under-20s division.
Yes, that's right.
How did you get involved in the first place?
I guess it started with the work team. A bunch of us just wanted to play some sport together, so we decided on tag. We got a team going along, and then we all really enjoyed it. A lot of us came back for a second season, and I actually met a couple of people that I knew, obviously because we're very local. We came back, and then we, kept playing tag together. So that's how it all started, I guess.
And that team was called Cappies, if I'm correct.
So it started with Intu.
Second one?
Second one. Cappies was the second one. So Intu was the first one. That was before the 20s team. So that work team, obviously a bunch of us are a bit older. I can't join that division, but then we went and played back in 20s after that. And then, we kept playing. A lot of us are still here, but yeah.
So since then, you've obviously gone on to becoming a rep player. In 2018, you basically played for the men's under 20s and you played on the wing.
Yeah.
Now, I remember a training session. You could not pass a certain way.
Still the same.
Still the same, but I've seen it's improved a little bit.
Yeah, well, obviously, back then we were still getting used to it. We didn't grow up playing footy like a lot of kids. So I joined 20 state team with Toddy. He actually gave me a lot of, pointers. Obviously as well, like just joining a state team, you're not going to get better. You got to practice on your own. And had a few players, just do some private training sessions. We've been training a lot. There was a point where we were playing 8 teams a season. So yeah, rego got really expensive, but you learn a lot, and then the training, you reap what you sow. So the training you do outside of, the actual games and whatnot, that's how you actually improve as a player. First thing I did learn to do was pass. So definitely got better at that. And yeah.
That was from right to left that you couldn't pass, if I remember correctly.
Right to left, yeah. I'm right-handed, but weirdly enough, I can pass left to right. So yeah.
That's definitely very weird on its own, but it's good that you obviously from that you were able to take things from obviously you knew that there was elements in your game that you needed to work upon, and you've obviously rectified all that to now obviously playing the men's division 2 for Ryde last year, now heading into this year. You are just edging on knocking on the door for a division 1 spot. Obviously that comes down to how much more improvement you go. Like, where do you see yourself growing in the future?
Yeah, so I started as a winger. I think my position now is probably link or maybe even Roma. I think with those positions, obviously, the more you play, the better you get. Maybe a bit more game awareness. Been working on it a lot. We even played today, actually. But yeah, I think, just kind of seeing the bigger picture, I guess, in tag, and like seeing everything that's out there, opening up your eyes a bit more. But yeah. Okay,
so from that, obviously being a player-wise, you stepped into coaching last year and you basically co-coached with me. And now you're co-coaching with Danny, and while also helping out nationals last year. Why? The question, why, and do you think it's had a big significance on you?
As in, why did I start coaching?
Yeah, what made you get involved into coaching? Because coaching is a very hard thing to get in. Like, it's not hard to get into, but it's also, you got to be very, you got to have very key aspects to yourself in wanting to become a successful coach.
Yep. So with coaching, that was actually your decision. You asked if I wanted to help you coach a team, and then I was like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a go. Ended up enjoying it. Made a lot of friends through it actually as well. I think it was good to kind of give back as well. Kind of give and teach what I got taught. So that's why I got into it. I think coaching now is just, how do I put this? It's a way that, you stay connected with like the group that you were originally coaching, because some of the players stay back for the next kind of season or the next state cup or the next whatever comp you go through. So yeah, I started coaching and just enjoyed it, stayed on board.
Well, it's good that I do have you on board in helping in coaching and that. And I do believe you and Danny are definitely a good team together. You both cover two different aspects you're both very different in coaches. Now, while we touch on the two other things, you put up your hand to basically help me in running the competition. And now you've stepped into refereeing. Now, you've obviously given a lot back to the game itself. What made you do this? And like, especially being a referee, it's very hard as well to obviously put yourself in the spotlight every single game.
Yeah. So for, obviously just helping out with everything, you get a lot more exposure to the competition. You learn a lot more, you see a lot more of the people that play in the comp. As for refereeing, can't say that money wasn't a big influence in that. Obviously, you pay a lot of money to join a couple of teams if you are playing a couple of teams. Like 4 teams in a season is something like $450. Refereeing definitely helps out with that. But I don't know. I guess it's just part of being more involved in OzTag. That's why I did join it.
Well, if you're definitely down there for a lot of the time, then putting your hand up to referee while also understand the rules and the whole concept of what it is to be a referee, you've obviously got a good knack of. Now, obviously, you've also played for Sri Lanka as well, international level. So amongst everything that you've done so far in basically 4 years, do we have a significant moment that Sharindu can share with us?
Yeah, I guess going overseas to play in New Zealand, that was a big kind of moment for a lot of us. we went up with a lot of the people that we know as well, because I have friends playing in Hong Kong, like Michael Poon, and like a lot of the boys from Lanka, we're all friends from here as well. So we all got up together. We caught the same flight. It's definitely something that I won't forget. Another one was actually playing in Sydney Cup, just having the first win with the boys together. That was actually against your team, but
I knew where you were headed with that. I definitely knew that.
Yeah, it's definitely rewarding to kind of see the hard work that you put in go somewhere. So definitely kind of a worthwhile moment for all of us.
Now, you've come in 2016 to where you are now, that basically you parallel the same time as what I've been involved, but I came a little bit earlier. Now, you've seen the growth. It's a massive change.
Yep.
Do you see it continuing to grow? Like, where do you see this potentially going in your mindset?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the whole COVID situation, everyone's itching to play a bit more tag. You see people training, like even on the weekends. We went out to one of the parks today. A lot of players are playing there. Just ran a few scrims, ran a few friendlies, and everyone's dying to play. So I definitely see it improving. I think with the improvement of everyone as well, a lot more players are playing reps now. So, they're going to want to come back into it. A lot of people are playing more teams. In Ryde, we had so many people that we had to split it up into 2 fields. I definitely see that continuing to grow. So, yeah.
Well, next time you decide to go play some games, at least invite me, because I'm hanging to get back out there on the field. Okay,
yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Okay.
Yeah, nah.
I'm definitely going to bring this up with a few other people now. Okay, so look, obviously you've gone from social to rep player. What a lot of the people that are obviously watching have either made the jump to reps or haven't made the jump yet, but are considering making the jump. What is some advice you would basically give to them in making that jump? Like, it's a big step going from a social player to a rep player.
Yeah.
What advice would you give?
Get good. No, I'm joking. I think for playing social to reps, I think the biggest thing you could do is play in higher social teams. I know a lot of people that have some potential, but they always stick to like a Div 6, Div 5. I really think that if you play in high Div teams, like step up to Div 3, find a couple better people that do play, your skill will definitely improve with that. Just exposure to that division. And like, even if you are a rep player, you should be playing at least Div 2 anyway. So definitely play in high divs, definitely work on, as a player, what you need to work on, whether you have bad ball skill, you have bad kicks, you have bad, whatever it is, game knowledge, I guess. Work on it in your own time. Definitely, put some effort into training, get fit, because that's a big thing for state as well. You're playing 3 games a day at least for 3 days. If you do make it to the 3rd day. I think if you can put all that in, you're definitely going to at least get better, if not get into reps as well.
Okay, well, obviously that's a good analysis of basically what you need to do. Now, I've got a special question for you. Now, this was sent from Richard from Spider People. Now, he wanted to know, what is your top 3 tips for an OzTag team getting started?
For a team getting started, okay. Top 3. First one is go to training. I know a lot of teams, they just, meet up the day that the social comp is happening, and they just play together. They wonder why we're so crap each week. Why do we keep getting pumped? If you really do want to improve and you don't want to just be a social team, you want to kind of climb the divisions, definitely get together, go do some training together, work on what you need to do. And then, second thing, I think a lot of what I actually talked about before on improving as a player, I think it's very valid there. So same as before, work on what you need to in your own time, whether it be fitness, whether it be game knowledge, whatever it is. That's number 2 thing. Number 3 thing, get more involved. Don't just play one team. Playing one team, you're only limited to one game. If you, have an off game, for example, you're not going to see much improvement from there. Go find a team to play friendlies with on Sunday. Join a second team on a Tuesday if you're playing on a Monday. The more tag you play, the better you get. That's simple as that. But yeah.
Well, obviously, playing men's is obviously a lot different to playing mixed, which you've done both. Playing men's, it's guys on guys. Everyone gets the ball around, and that basically takes care of itself. But I've seen firsthand with with females who will sit on the wing in a mixed game and they won't touch the ball. So if I'm that, if there's a female that's obviously in that position, how is she going to get involved if no one else is basically wanting to contribute it to her?
Yeah. So I think that's a bit of a difficult one, but that's where you need to put your hand up. You need to go, hey, look, I want to get more involved. What can I do to get better? And that's something you can ask even your link, your middle, your team captain if you have one. And if you have a good enough team captain, they're definitely going to get you involved. You know, everyone pays a lot of money to play, not a lot of money, everyone pays money to play Oztag. You don't want to go there just to not be involved in the sport. So I think that's where you really need to put your hand up and say, hey, look, I want to get involved too. What can I do? And then, you know, be prepared to take on some criticism and then work on whatever your captain or your coach or your, you know, teammates say to you. And then I think that's how you get more involved. We've actually had a lot of people do that. And the people who do that now, I'm not going to list names, but they're actually kind of playing in the middle for a mixed team. But yeah, they've just, you know, had the guts to say, hey, look, what can I improve on? They've gone ahead and done it in their own time, and then they've become that much better of a player.
Okay. Look, Rinder, I definitely appreciate everything you've done for us. So, you know, you've contributed a lot to me. You've actually given me a lot of help over the last couple of years. You know, you are one of my trusted people outside of Costi. If I don't give Costi any recognition in this chat, then he's definitely going to be upset. But obviously when it comes to, you know, something that I need feedback on the younger generation, because that's what we do have at Ryde, you definitely have been someone that I can rely on. Look, mate, I definitely appreciate you coming on, giving up your free time for this.
Anytime.
So hopefully we'll be back soon and we can get stuck back into things.
Easy. Just before I go, Lucas, Mayan, Pooney, they just wanted to shout out. Thanks. Oh, and Gloria. Cheers.
They all wanted to shout
Bye-bye.
out. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Okay, guys. Look, that's basically tonight's segment. Now, before I finish, keep in mind next week we have got Tim Bentwich, who is from the men's over 30s team that I've played in. I've coached him as well, and I've been coached by him. He's now an Australian representative. He's going to be joining the segment. We've also got Bernard Chow who's coaching the men's under 20s team for us. And then finally, we have also got our very own long-serving referee in James Walkinshaw. So definitely looking forward to having these three guests on board. If you have not yet basically put up a thumbs up or said hello, please do so now in the next minute, just to make sure that you go into the draw. Otherwise, if you have not done it, you will not go into the draw for the prize at the that will be drawn on the 9th segment. Now, guys, I hope you've learnt as much as you can from this. Obviously, having these three people on is basically just a significant information that we can relay back to all of you, and hopefully, as a Ryde community, we can improve a lot of aspects within the game. You know, I've definitely seen a lot of changes, which I will talk about when it comes to my time being interviewed. And hopefully after this whole pandemic with COVID-19, we'll be back sooner than what we realised. So thank you, Costi. It's 2 weeks old, so I'm due for a new one. So guys, once again, I really appreciate it. What's going to happen from here is we are going to upload the segment tomorrow. Once the 24 hours have passed of it being viewed, it will be uploaded through, and we'll continue the work that we're doing in promoting it. Definitely tell your friends and make sure everyone's following us. So it is a private group, and the reason why I've done this is basically follow us, get the information straight away. Instead of making it public, I want to make sure that my information is being relayed to you. So I do apologize for all the spam, and basically thank you for tonight, guys. I look forward to seeing you very soon.